The fall season is here, and it's time for us to wear something appropriated. Thank you for joining in for another watch build. If you're new to the channel, my name is Adam for Balance Watch. We build custom watches for people and make all kinds of watch related content. This is a brand new channel, so if you enjoy your time, please take a moment to like and subscribe. I plan to release a new video every Friday, so I really appreciate your guys' support. So with that out of the way, let's get into the build. So for the part that we'll be using today, we got the NH35 caliber from Seiko. This movement carries 24 jewels, operate at 21,600 beats per hour, and have 41 hours of power reserve. This is an extremely reliable movement that I know will always get the job done. The face of this watch will be this white dial with rose gold marking. This dial have a matte finish, and in combination with the white, it makes the dial look quite frosty, which I think make a very interesting touch. To match the dial, we'll be using this rose gold hands, and everything will be housed inside the Submariner homage case. This is a very high quality case with screw down crown, solid end link with both brush and polish finishing, and up to 100 meters of water resistant on paper. And I'll put the rest of the spec on screen right now. So before we walk on the movement, I'm going to be removing the strap first and get it out of the way. It'll make the workflow smoother for me, which you will see later in the build. To take off these bracelets, we have to disengage the two spring bars that are holding them in place. It does require you to use this special tool that split at the tip like a snake tongue. This split allows you to grab onto a very small ring on the spring bar and push it down. There is the spring bar right here and right here. Right, to remove it, you just press it down and then this should come out. This works just like any other strap, but it might require a bit more finesse to move them, especially with the one with curved ends like we have here. It's because metal is not malleable, so you can't push it out of the way to get the spring bar in and out, but it's more of an issue when installing them and not taking them off. If this was a leather or a rubber strap, you can just take off one end and then tilt it to get the spring bar out, but the curved ends on these bracelets prevent that tilting action. That's why you have to disengage one end first, flip it over and do the other ends, while make sure the spring bar doesn't hop back in place, which can happen very often. With the bracelets off the case, now we can start working on the movement. I'm doing a quick check on the movement to see that everything works. You don't want to put all that effort into building your watch only to realize at the end that there is something wrong with your movement, and then you have to start all over again. But it seemed like this NH35 come perfectly out of the box, so now we can start setting the dial. The dial that I ordered already come with the correct dial feet, which means I don't have to cut and file down the extra feet, which will save a lot of time. All I have to do is find the corresponding dial feet holes on the movement, which in this case is located at the 8 o'clock and 2 o'clock position, and press the dial down. Since this dial have a date window, you have to make sure that the date wheel turns at the right time of day. You can do that by pulling the crown out and fast forwarding the time just until you see the date wheel jump, and when you see that lets you know that the movement is at midnight. With everything set and ready, we're going to start with the next step of the build. Before we set the hands, I'm going to be installing my logo. This watch is a custom order for a client and will be going out at the end of this build. This design is built on their two ideas, rose gold and chocolate. And let me say, I was thrilled to take on this watch because these two things on a watch go so well with each other, in my opinion. With the logo on the dial, now we can move on to setting the hands. We're going to start with the owl hand first because we're working from the bottom up. I'm going to first align it at the 12 o'clock position and install the hand to the center shaft. We'll then use the hand pusher tool to press the hand down. Remember to be very careful and only use gentle forces. We're working with very small and delicate components. When the owl hand is set, we're going to do our first clearance check. This is to make sure that the hands are not touching anything as they move around the watch. In my case, I noticed that the owl hand is slightly pointing up. Although it's not touching the markers, it would surely cause problem if not corrected when I set the minute hands on. So I have to do any adjustment now. We then repeat the same process with the minute hand and the second hand, and make sure to do clearance checks every time you put them on. It's always a sign of relief when you push the crown in and you see the second hand start moving. Now we can do our final checks and do any adjustment that is necessary before we put this movement into its forever home. Getting the movement inside the case is gonna be difficult with the stem in place, so first we have to remove that. The stem can be released by pressing down on this small lever to the left of it. Press down on that lever and pull the crown out at the same time. I forgot to press record for a bit here, but all I did was put the case over top of the movement and then flipping it over. And now I'm going to grease up the gasket to make sure that we have a watertight fit. I already removed the case gasket, and now I'm trying to get the crown gasket out so I can grease that up too. So the stem that they give you is usually very long, but that is for you to adjust it for it to fit your watch. I already have a video on how to do this, so I won't go into detail here, but you can check out that video on my channel if you're interested in watchmaking. But basically, I have to measure the extra length, then cut and file it down until we find the correct length. This took me about 15 minutes because there was a lot of back and forward. I also try to vacuum the workspace every time I bring the movement in because I don't want any metal dust to get in the movement and damage it. Now that I'm happy with the length, I have to make sure that this crown never come loose and fall off. We can do that by dabbing a little bit of thread lock onto the stem and then screw the crown in. But after this, I have to make sure to not touch the crown for at least a day to wait for the glue to set. I'll clean up the residue with Rodico, and I can put the gasket back on and do our finishing touches. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm still very new to making content on YouTube, so please excuse me if I make any mistake. I'm learning and getting better every day. I'm also working on some very cool watches, so stay tuned for those videos. Thank you guys very much again. And with that, let's take a final look at the watch we made today.